Good afternoon. In this video, I'll be doing a breakdown on my edit of tipping. So firstly, I'm gonna go over how I color coded all the sound effects and all the sound, just to get easier understanding. So this normal green color is just the sound that comes with the footage. The pink is screams, and yellow is the source sound effects, and the blue is music.
The service has to be.
So right off the start, we start out with the radio. So I use this to set the time, like the time period. It also has the color palette of the rest of the. It has the stylized color palette of the rest of the edit of the red and teal. So here you can see one character twisting the knobs on the radio, and it also shows that the music would be in mode, known as diegetic. So we start out with a bit of a Dutch angle.
The service has to be.
And then afterwards it cuts it into
what
one of
you're
the
saying,
characters.
Would you sell your soul for minimum wage?
Being kind and attentive is not selling your soul.
So here I used like a flash just to tease in a bit of the horror elements and build up the tension.
But you know what I mean.
Then we have a bit of a payoff. So right now what you're seeing is a hand with some blood. It makes it really mysterious. So the audience will be wondering, what is really going on?
When I was in the States, I once saw a waiter jump a table, grab a customer by the neck, screaming.
Here's some more of the sound effects, just added screaming
Spitting.
from the actor.
What's with the spitting?
Gross, I know, right? But there I was having to bear witness to it
I bet it was a woman.
all. You were saying.
So this is the first major payoff. And between all this dialogue scenes, we have J cuts and L cuts. So what I was saying is, for the dialogue scenes, we have a little bit of J cuts, L cuts, just make it so it doesn't feel rigid.
What's with the spitting?
Gross, I know, right? But there I was having to bear witness to it
I bet it was a woman.
This is somewhat where the color grade starts falling apart. We start getting inconsistencies with the color grade.
You were saying.
The customer that was attacked, was it a female?
So it's a subtle bit here. Just a subtle bit here. The music cuts on his lip smack.
You were saying.
The customer that was attacked, was it a female?
It's more of a subtle way of showing like how we just went from this major moment to them not really caring, and they're just continuing on
The
with
customer that
the
was attacked,
conversation that they're having.
Why'd you say that?
Because a man will feel powerful dominating and doing all that stuff.
What man?
The waiter, he wanted to demonstrate his masculinity by
Assaulting and attacking a defenseless woman who had felt his service had been below the expected
The
standards.
here we have the sound effect building up for the biggest.
Why do men?
Here we have the sound effect
Assaulting and
building up. So now we
Assaulting and
have. Why do I keep playing it? It sounds louder than my own voice, so I'm like, what's going on?
Oh yeah.
Alright.
Feels bad, man. Feels bad. Feels bad.
So here we have the biggest payoff, the biggest kind of like a scare. So what I did is ease in the sound of her screaming from this footage, just like to really build it up during the conversation.
Assaulting and attacking a defenseless woman who had felt his service had been below the expected standards.
Why do men have to spit? Oh,
It also somewhat suggests that she is calling up to them from there. As they're getting closer and closer, it will be getting louder. So, for the shots of this character here, I used only one of the takes just to keep it all consistent. So, the color grade is almost exactly the same between each of the shots, except for this one, which is a very different shot. And it is graded differently. It's a harsher red with somewhat less of the greens, putting more emphasis on it. And the way we colored it allows the reds to be stronger without it going blue. So instead of going with the blue, I'd rather have it go green and make the windows teal, and make these bits of the walls greener. Whereas the shot
Your
of
point is,
not waitress.
Alex, it really just goes very orangey and warm because of how the sun overpowers the lighting that we had.
Implies female.
look, all I ask for is discreet and respectful attention. Gender is not relevant.
So here we fade out of the music and the shot, and then have a sound of a jukebox playing, and we put it in the next scene, cutting on the. So you put it into the next scene, cutting on the sounds of the jukebox. And that we also have this review text showing that the following scene is a different period of time. So this is earlier. You're getting the information of why
Hello?
the rest of this happened.
Hi.
Should we go?
Are you serving? We just want coffee.
So for this, I chose to. So for this shot, I chose to do a gimbal shot
Hello?
because it will allow us to track the characters from the door all the way to the seats in the booth without having any issues
Hi.
with the tripod or having multiple different shots. It's all one long take.
Should we go?
Which really presents like the fact of how they might be like somewhat bored, like waiting for the service to come.
We just want coffee.
Should we go?
So this is one of the shots I had the greatest difficulty color grading. I have 4 different nodes here where I try to detect like color pick, like the color of his skin, and try and grade it so that he would be easier to see. And then also I tried dropping the shadows and adding the look. This is a before and after. But as I do that, you really crush all the shadows and you lose all the Leo. And it makes it hard to see the characters again.
Two extra hot cappuccinos, please.
Aren't you going to ask us if we want any chocolate or not?
So here we have reaction
hot
shots showing the characters when they speak, rather than having just one long take, which it was before. I chose to cut directly to the waiter
Aren't you going to
rather than the speaking
ask us
character
if we want any chocolate?
on this shot,
Aren't you going to ask us if we want any chocolate or not?
just to keep the pacing going. It really shows that
Aren't
it's
you
more
going to
about
ask us-
reactions, about how the waiter reacts rather than
Aren't you
how they're
going to ask
speaking.
us
of
if
what
we
they're
want any
saying.
chocolate or not?
It's all about the attitude.
I don't want my coffee being served with sneezes.
Now we have the credits.
Rolling. You could just watch.
Ready?
Action.
You in the shot.
Okay. Oh my.
You're standing right behind me.
Ready?
So if you're doing like anything, you see people go.
Yeah, right?
So what I may have done differently if I was to do it again would be putting in the roles for each of crew members, and then I would also try finding more of the different shots of Alex here and trying to make it more consistent, because there is a massive difference between each shot. So if I copy the grade, like one shot here and then the next shot, and it's completely different. So each shot had to be colored individually anyway, but I tried to keep it consistent within the take, but that really didn't work out. I would have also maybe tried out expanding more if I could get the look I wanted, where it would have been much more low-key, and most of what you see is just the reds and the highlights on the face, but that wasn't very achievable with the line that we had set up to do in post. And what I thought we would be doing is blocking up the windows so we'd have more control of the lighting, but then you just end up with flat white windows rather than the kind of look we want. So maybe we could have tried having a black flagging. Now that I've done more extra research on it, if we added in black curtains or black flagging, it would have been better that way. One thing I am happy with is how we turn that around and fit in more of a red and teal theming, which is much less done, whereas that look with the red and black is probably much more common to see. Another thing I'm happy with is the way I reveal the style using this masking. It's a very subtle, less is more way of doing it. In the previous versions I'd have it just fade in, and I also actually had it covering the door, which I got some feedback saying I threw away the shot by just putting it over it rather than letting the audience enjoy the actual shot of it. So the text comes in after the door's gone.